All right, so there's only 3 of you here today. I imagine some people may come in later. We'll let them. For those of you online that are getting this video, I am recording it because I don't believe that I have a good Foucault or Derrida video up for you. I mean, I think I have something up, but this might update it a little bit. So today we're scheduled to talk about Derrida, and last time we were scheduled to talk about Foucault, correct? And we sort of started talking about your papers and how to do better on your papers. And we started talking about, we talked a little bit about critical theory again, right? And that critical theorists are most interested in?
I said it. Power.
Power, very good, yes, power, there you go, very good. So they're most interested in power. Critical theorists are most interested in power, not language, not communication, but power. Because as we talked about with Michel Foucault, who was a psychiatrist and a sociologist, he was interested in how our social structures and systems maintain and create power over us, right? I gave the example of the red lights. Do you remember I was talking about red lights control what you do in a moment? And I said, even though there were no cops around, when at 3 o'clock in the morning I was trying to cross Kansas Expressway on Walnut Lawn back before it was a street, back when it was a farm road. I was trying to cross it late at night, early in the morning. There's no traffic anywhere, no cops to be found, and I still stopped and waited like an idiot until I figured out that while it may not be legal to go through a red light, at that point, was it unethical? The answer is no. Then they started putting out these signs and these cameras that were at all the red lights in Springfield. This was about 15 years ago or so, maybe. And they put out all of these cameras at the street lights. And they said, okay, if you go through a red light, we're gonna know it and we're gonna ticket you. Well, they went to court over it. And it turns out that was illegal. So they just left up the signs that said there are cameras at all of our red lights. They had it on the main sign as you drove into Springfield on Kansas Expressway, except there weren't any functional cameras at the red lights. But what did that act of leaving those signs up do? Do you think? Just leaving the signs up that said there's cameras at all our red lights.
Could that be considered dialogue?
Well, one would love it to be dialogue, but it's more like the master's discourse that we talked about previously, or a dictation, right? But it's a control mechanism, right? It's a control mechanism to say, we are watching you, right? And you don't know that what's that?
I said Big Brother.
Sure, Big Brother, yes, that's the term we use, and a lot of people think that we use it because of the TV show, right? But you never heard of the TV show Big Brother? Really? Oh, okay.
1984?
Huh?
1984 and such?
Yeah, 1984 is where it does come from, actually. Very good. Thank you. I'm so glad that you know it not from pop culture, but from, Big Brother was a TV show. Not that long ago. I mean, I'm old, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't that long ago. They had all these people living in a house, and there were cameras on them at all times, and then there were people that got voted. It's kind of like getting voted off the island in Survivor.
Okay.
If you ever saw any clips, I never watched any of these shows, just to be clear. But it was kind of similar to that. Big Brother, that idea does come from, 1984 was not Bradbury. It wasn't Heinlein, it was, who was it? It was Orwell, thank you very much. Yeah, George Orwell, thank you guys very much. So 1984, which of course, in 1984, when I read it, did not come to fruition, but it certainly feels like 2024 and 2025 and 2026 are sort of feeling that way, aren't they? A little bit, at least. Where does that come from? Where does this idea come from? And why? I told you when we met last time on Monday that we would talk about 2 concepts in sort of the social psychology world. Do you remember what those 2 were? They both start with the same letter.
Is it D? What's the letter?
They're the same words, actually. A little O other
Oh.
and a big O other, capital O other, yes? I don't know that you guys can see that on the screen, I apologize, but what I've written is other with a little o, an under, or a non-capitalized, what was that? Lowercase o. Words are escaping me today, and a big O other or capital O other. And other, the little o other, just means the people around us or the people who are, I don't know, immediately in front of us. Our parents, our others, our bosses, our friends, our roommates, our president, apparently. I mean, I don't see him too often, but he does make rules that I follow. I'm talking about the president of the university,
Dr.
just to be
Williams?
clear.
President Williams?
President Williams, yes. Biff, yes.
He hates that.
He hates Biff.
Apparently he doesn't like it.
He told us all to call him Biff when we
That's
came
had
in.
Cliff.
Huh?
That's when we had Cliff, you know?
No, Cliff was always Cliff, no
Yeah,
doubt.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I distinctly got an email from President Williams when he first came in.
Call
And
me
he said,
Biff, yeah.
"You may call me Biff," but it turns out he doesn't like that.
Apparently that's what I've heard.
Oh wow. Well, it's probably for the better because the name Biff for those Gen Xers of us, and we're the most of us on campus aside from students, obviously, but we relate that to Back to the Future. And the evil bully named Biff. So it's probably, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna say what you just said. No, I'm just kidding. Somebody just indicated maybe it's accurate. Yes, possibly. I mean, I don't know. The only time I've ever been in the same room with him was when he gave me my award for the university level Faculty Excellence in Community Engagement Award. That's the only time I ever met him. Ever in my life, and the only time I ever talked with him. And the words that we spoke were, "Hello, congratulations, thank you." So we didn't have a whole lot of dialogue going on, right? But yes, he's a little other to me. These are people that it's important that we recognize how they impact our life and how they control us. Look, you guys don't do this, okay, because you're much better about things than I was, and you're much better about me even now. Am I wearing jeans and cowboy boots or sweatpants or pajamas? No? Okay, evidence, I am not wearing that. Okay, I've got on a pair of dress pants and a pair of dress boots, right? Below this shirt. Now, why do I dress like this?
The expectation.
One would hope there's an expectation that your professors are dressed professionally, right? That we come in here attempting to establish credibility. Now, will you ever see me come in here in jeans? Yeah, you will, because there are days I'm just lazy, okay? But will they be ripped up, torn up jeans, or am I gonna look like I just came out of the farm field? No. My cowboy boots, are they official cowboy boots? Yes, but are they dirty and beat up because I ride horses all day? No, they're new and clean and fresh looking, right? There are certain times when you could get away with, a little bit of fudging with the system, but for the most part, the expectation was always that your professors were dressed professionally. That we would get up in front of you and look like we knew what we were talking about, and in order to do that, establish credibility, which we all know means I have to project to you goodwill, which means I have to project to you that I care, and if I come in here looking like I don't care about me, how can you think I care about you, right? If I don't care what I look like, why should you? And so my 16-year-old stepdaughter, who's going to be 17 in August, God help me. So she's in your generation, but obviously a little bit younger than you. Not much, but a little bit. She says to me all the time, "Elizabeth, it should not matter what I'm wearing. People should like you for who you are, not for what you're wearing." Okay. I'm down with that, right? However, do we care if other people like us? No. Benjamin's like, no. I mean, Generally speaking, Gen Xers, we say it all the time. Whatever, I don't care, right? However, right? That should be my generation's motto. However, if I'm coming into a classroom and I want you to listen to me, am I going to dress like a slob and pretend like I don't care what I look like? Am I going to give you the sense that it's unimportant how I present myself when I'm trying to teach you that it's important to present yourself? Of course not, right? So what is all of that? What's going on here? What's going on here is that, yes, expectations created by the social norms and values that we create. Most people relate that to laws. And laws are expectations and norms and values in a lot of ways. But did you ever hear that there's a difference between the law and what's right? Or the law and ethics? The law is black and white letter on paper. It is immovable, supposedly. It's what's supposed to be unmovable. I am a pragmatist. I take things in context. I take things in outcome and situation. I take things and look at the ethical implications more than the black and white implications. This is why I'm not a lawyer, right? Well, so the black and white letter of the law cannot take into consideration what we're talking about, which is what the expectations actually are. Okay, so let me give some pretty clear black and white versus ethical questions. Should you have child pornography on your computer?
No.
No, definitely not. The law says no. So several years ago, I mean, we're going on a decade now, my stepdaughter lived with a man who was busted for child pornography in her age range on the computer. Yes, he did do 6.5 years in federal prison, just to be clear. He's out now, but like I said, it's been almost a decade since this happened. All we wanted to know is there a picture of our daughter out there? Guess what? According to the law, we're not allowed to know. If I go on the black web, what do we call that?
Dark web.
The dark web, thank you. I don't know why I said black market, dark web. That's funny. If I go on there and I start looking through child pornographic pictures, looking for my stepdaughter, that violates the law, right? It does not matter that I'm looking for a picture of my daughter. It does not matter that I'm trying to get information about my child, my stepchild in this case, bonus daughter, right? Do you have any idea how infuriating it is when your child might be the victim of, like, might be right now being victimized, right? Her picture could be out there. We don't know. We're never going to be allowed to know because just the act of someone looking for it is illegal. Letter of the law, ethics of the law, completely different things. So if I said to you, boy, I really want to go and look for this picture of my daughter, if there is one, that sounds nuts if I say, hey, I need to go dig through some child pornography. Doesn't it? That's not right. That doesn't work. That's gross. First of all, it's gross. Second of all, I really don't want to do that, just to be clear. But you can bet my husband was ready to lose his mind over this. Get it down. Whatever there is out there, I want it off. We all do, don't we? Don't we wish we could just scrub it all? But if you go look for it, you're violating the law, right? So there's a lot of context and expectation that goes between letter of what we are told we are supposed to do and the pragmatics of what we are told we are supposed to do, or the ethics of it. Isn't there? You guys are stunned at this example. Is that because it's a shocking example? Okay, here's the sad part. It's real. So I would love to tell you I'm making that up, but that's a real conundrum my husband and I found ourselves in, okay? It's very real. So these things happen. I'm not trying to like scare you, but imagine the comparison of violating the law with a red light at 3 o'clock in the morning versus this. right? How do we evaluate what we are going to do, what actions we are going to take, what we are going to say? Keeping in mind the little o other, which in this case is the law, really, and the big O other, which are all those things that impact who you are and what we think is happening, right? What we think is happening. And yes, you could use discourse to make people think something is happening, whether it is or not, can't we? I'm not talking about, jumping out of a plane without a parachute, rhetorically constructing a net on the way down and expecting not to die or break your back. Okay, I'm not suggesting that. But what I am suggesting is, I don't know, let's do some examples. You look like you have one.
I mean, it's very niche and specific.
Give it.
So I'm the president of a residence hall association here on campus.
Okay.
So it's my job to update our documents and governance. So we have a budget, we have a subsidiary organization that we create the budget for, and I'm doing something that's very unpopular in limiting their budget because they don't need that much money and they're not good with it. So I'm gonna have to give my speech and discourse and kind of be like, it's not, framing is not really a choice, so that they vote to pass what I want them to.
It's framed not as a choice?
Framed as not a choice, that's going to happen anyway because I'm invoking a higher power when I talk about it, kind of slyly.
Okay.
So is that in a way speaking?
When you say invoke a higher power,
Yeah, so like my department.
your department.
My
Okay.
The department.
Not like
but
a Christian God tells us to be good
I-
with stewards of youth or
that's
whatever.
essentially our God.
Yeah, okay, all right, fair enough. Your God, okay.
Yeah,
I like how we're doing this.
If
There's
the-
your God, and then
Yeah.
there's my God, and then there's J.D. Vance's God, who apparently is J.D. Vance. All right, we're
He's
back.
apparently Catholic.
Yeah, he became Catholic,
And then he started beef with the Pope.
and then he wrote a book and made money off of becoming Catholic, not being Catholic, becoming Catholic, and now he's challenging the Pope to like a duel. Like, what is happening? The Pope used to have what you're talking about, that higher power, overarching sort of impact,
From the messenger.
it's about the messenger,
Yeah.
right, yeah. And so you're going to invoke the higher power of the department.
Yeah, basically, like even if you, let's say you voted against it, it's still going to somehow happen. So or I'll just make it easier on yourself. Not saying
Is that the best strategy?
But working around it, well, does it go with what you're saying in a way?
I think the better argument that goes with what I'm saying would be, you have a choice. A right choice and a wrong choice. Our values, whatever those are, set forth in our guidelines, our mission, our bylaws, whatever, say that we need to be more responsible. By voting against this, you're voting against responsibility. Do you want to vote against responsibility, or are you a responsible person?
I'll steal it.
That's fine.
I don't mind.
My point is that rather than not giving a choice,
Frame it as the right choice.
make sure that they know that they have a choice, but they want to make the right one. That's how this works, I think, better than even not giving them a choice. Now, there are some ways in which the big O other makes it so that we don't have choices.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about that. But most of the time, it's just little O others that make it that we don't have a choice. And somebody asked a question today, and I thought this was a good question for us today. Why now? Why are people pissed at Donald Trump now? As opposed to, what was it, a year ago? When he put up a picture of himself, AI generated, of course, AI generated a picture of himself as the Pope. We all just kind of like, that's really not good, and walked away, didn't we? Do you remember that? Do you even remember that? You don't remember that? You don't remember that? You do. He put up a picture of himself on Truth Social, I guess, is where he does his stuff. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
He's not on X, formerly known as Twitter, anymore.
He is, but he posts his unhinged stuff on Truth Social.
Okay, so Truth Social is where he posts the truly unhinged,
Yes, the
crazy
truly
stuff.
unhinged takes.
Like, for example, him with the Pope hat on and the, scepter and the chalice. No, why did people not get as upset then as they seem to be now? And by the way, it's not just Catholics who are upset, which is fascinating. I mean, because Jesus Christ as a healer that's often depicted with a bright ball of light or a ray of light, right? Jesus Christ as that's the Pope picture, yeah. Jesus Christ as healer. You could pull up the one of him as Jesus now. If you want.
Yes.
I'm sorry, as a doctor from the Red Cross that he cut the funding to, so it doesn't exist anymore. But okay, Jesus Christ is often depicted that way. Christians are going to have a problem with that, not just Catholics. Picking a beef with an Italian from Chicago, that's your first mistake. Italian from Chicago that also happens to be the pontiff, really problematic. Especially when you just made a bunch of money off of writing a book about, quote, becoming Catholic. And so all of a sudden we're seeing this new division, which is hilarious to me. That's the Jesus Christ picture there. I'm pretty sure that's Jesus. Now, I could be wrong, but pretty sure I'm right. Pretty sure the little O others are all agreeing with me that that's Jesus. It's not just my interpretation of some big O other that only I follow, right? But like that idea that you become Catholic and then you make money off of it and then you criticize the Pope. Okay, let's break that down. Oh no, we don't need to, because there's another term that's coming up. And it's a term I've known all my life, but they're using it on TikTok now. And that term is, quote, cradle Catholic. I'm going to write over here because it's not really here yet. A cradle Catholic is the term. Okay, let's look at this as language. A cradle Catholic is someone who, can you guess what this is? What is it?
Someone who's been a Catholic since the cradle.
Since they were born, exactly, right? 30 days after we are born, we are baptized into the church. And so we are Catholic officially about a month after we're born. If you're Catholic, that's the thing, all right? Okay, cradle Catholics, I've always known the term, meaning that we're Catholic from birth, have always kind of had a little bit of a jaundiced eye at new Catholics, or what's the word I'm looking for? Did I use it earlier? There's cradle Catholics and then there's new Catholics, basically. People who become Catholic are not the same as the people who are born Catholic. Which is stupid because I obviously became Catholic at some point, right? I wasn't actually born Catholic, but we call it cradle Catholic. Now, that term's always been around, but all of a sudden it's on freaking TikTok and Reels and everywhere else. People talking about the difference between a cradle Catholic and a, I don't know what the word is. New Catholic is the only word I can remember. A converted Catholic. Thank you very much. A converted Catholic. Thank you. That is the word. A converted Catholic. Why? Because cradle Catholics, we feel like we know more. We have a certain, arrogance because we've been in this a long freaking time. We haven't been taught anything else. It's what we know. And to have some newbie come in, some convert come in and start tearing down our big O other, our Pope, our God, our Christ, the Holy Trinity, whatever Catholic thing you want to pick on, the saints, I don't know, pick a lane. But the point is that cradle Catholics get really offended easily. The thing is, most cradle Catholics are Gen Xers, and we really don't care. You want to criticize things, you go right ahead. So the question that I saw today was, why now? What was it about this image, about the criticism of the Pope, that bothered people so much? And the answer is not an answer I think we could come up with. Not today, at least. It's going to take a long time to figure this out. But there's something that happened when that picture went up, when he said, I thought it was a picture of me as a doctor from the Red Cross, which was obviously a created lie. I saw that, what's her name? The press secretary, Levitt. Caroline Levitt said It was a doctored photo. First of all, it's an AI generated photo. Obviously, it's doctored. Like, duh. But did he mean to say it was a doctored photo, not I was a doctor in the photo? Maybe? We're all trying to find how this makes sense. Okay. What does that have to do with Foucault? Do you have any idea?
Discourse or dialogue, using discourse? I love the
Yes,
word.
discourse is the key word here. Yes, absolutely. Did your book mention anything about a word called, or a term, discursive formations? No? It's okay if it didn't. If it didn't, it didn't. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, and we'll use this example, that at Cradle Catholic, the term Cradle Catholic is what's known as a discursive formation. DISCURSIVE formation. FORMATION. I'm spelling it because they can't see the board, I'm pretty sure. A discursive formation. It is a term or a formation of words, if you will, that define and demarcate a large description or a large, I might even say a large group of people in some case, or a large group of ideas into one or two words for the purpose of maintaining power. Okay? So it is a term, a couple of words or a word, a term designed to represent, I'm using a lot of words here, designed to represent or bring together people or definitions of ideas, multiple ideas, into one for the purpose of maintaining power. Let me give you an example. Back when Foucault was writing about discursive formations, which again I acknowledge is not in your book, this is a new term for you, he talked about the term homosexual, okay? Which in the 70s and 80s was the correct or proper term for people who had, well, I won't say correct or proper, but the accepted term for people who had sex with people of the same sex, okay? Nowadays, we consider that derivative and dehumanizing, and we wouldn't use that term. We would use the term queer, which back in the 70s and 80s was the wrong word to use. So we can change language and we can change discursive formations. However, the term homosexual wasn't just a term in of itself, that of people who had sex with other people of the same sex. That wasn't the entirety of it. We started to talk about it in terms of homosexuality, and in the DSM-3, maybe it was the 4. It had it listed as a mental illness. Homosexuality was a mental illness. All right. What happens when we start defining something as an illness? What does that mean we can do? It means we can hospitalize them, treat them, cure them. Maybe we put them on a colony somewhere in an island out in the middle of the Caribbean. It's not like we haven't done that kind of thing before. Australia, anybody? With criminals? Or leper colonies in the deserts, in the caves? Right? Once you start defining something as a medical problem, we start doing things like electric shock therapy to make you not gay, not homosexual anymore, right? And these are justified by the discursive formation around homosexual at the time, in the time that it was done. Imagine how many other things get defined in terms of being an illness or a sickness. I'll give you another old one. Hysteria. Women who were hysterical. What happens when a woman has her uterus removed? What is it called? Does anyone know what that? A hysterectomy, right? Because a woman's uterus makes her hysterical and uncontrollable. And that means that's an illness. So what procedure did they justify with hysteria as an illness that needed to be cured? Does anybody know? Frontal lobe lobotomies, anybody? Right?
Rosemary Kennedy.
Rosemary Kennedy. Yeah. So, exactly. Now, I'm going to give you another one that is right now. Are you ready? Don't get mad, but this is a discursive formation used to marginalize people, because when we say we could cure you, we can fix you, blah, 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 what are we doing? We are putting you in a group and marginalizing you from the rest of the community, right? How about this one? TDS. Do you know what TDS is? Trump derangement syndrome? Have you heard it? I get told I have it all the time. What does that mean? Go ahead.
You have some form of derangement for hating on every single thing Donald Trump does. You are just so lost within everything.
Right. I am so mentally ill and deranged that if I criticize something Trump does, President Trump does, that makes me, it just shows that it's a symptom of my TDS. And I need to stop talking. I need to shut up. I need to be marginalized and pushed away. It is a way to define people out of the conversation. Discourse allows us to marginalize or be inclusive. It creates power and takes power away from people. The first step to taking power away, do you want to guess what it is? Nobody wants to guess what it is. Marginalize. First step to taking power away from people is to marginalize them. And how do you marginalize them? The first step you take is to label them. And you want to make sure that you label them in a way that's going to be able to let you marginalize them. Cradle Catholics, we're doing it for inclusion and marginalization, aren't we? We're saying converted Catholics aren't as good as we are. Sit down and shut up. But what we really want is just for J.D. Vance to stop and Donald Trump to stop challenging the Pope, right? Is that so bad? Well, no, that's not so bad. I mean, I don't want anybody criticizing Allah or Vishnu or whatever you worship or whatever your higher power is, even if it's nothing. I don't want people criticizing you for that. I don't want to marginalize people. And all converted Catholics are not terrible people. In fact, most aren't. And all cradle Catholics aren't great people, but most of them are. But it's the same type of division that people claim to hate. And yet they use discursive formations all the time. And to relate it back to 1984, I'm thinking of Brave New World, I think. Neologisms. That's Brave New World, sorry. That's a same author though, right? No, that's not Orwell, that's, who wrote Brave New World, everybody? Was it Orwell? Maybe it was Bradbury. Bradbury did The Red Pony.
Huxley.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that wasn't even close to my brain. Huxley wrote Brave New World. Another one that if you enjoyed 1985, I loved 1985. I was in the 5th grade. 1984, if you enjoyed that book, you would enjoy Brave New World. Neologisms, meaning new word. We create them all the time. But what we're really creating are discursive formations. And that's how discourse functions, according to Michel Foucault. Now, Benjamin, you were really excited to talk about discourse. I talked about something not in the book. Is there something from the book that you wanted to talk about?
From which person?
From Foucault. Let's start with Foucault.
Foucault. I mean, I just like the relationship between power and discourse, and how using discourse to exercise power. Yeah,
Yeah, most people don't think about it.
I was just a fan.
That's all Hitler did.
Yeah.
Hitler never killed anybody. Oh, here's one that's going to get you. Charlie Manson never killed anybody. Never laid a finger on anyone. Did you know that? And he served his entire life for murder. Because the language that he used was so powerful that other people murdered. Right? So it is fascinating. If you take a look down, good boy, sit down. Good boy. Really? If you take a look at language and how it controls you, you will go a little nuts, okay? You will get a little bit of a derangement syndrome of some kind. Not Trump derangement syndrome, but of some kind. Because you spend all your time saying, how is this being used to control me? By the way, everything is used in a way to control us, right? Questions about Foucault before we move on to Derrida. I had to lecture on Monday in my social movements class about Derrida. I never talked to you guys about it, right? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not repeating the same stuff to you all the time. I mean, in the beginning, do a little review of last time. That's always important, but... Okay, how many of you read Derrida?
For today.
Yeah, the guy for today, Jacques, as my former professor used to say it, Derrida. It's Derrida, just to be clear. Did you read? No. Okay, so I've got, you read partially, and those two did not read.
I really only locked in on deconstruction.
Okay, well that's fine. We could talk about that. Probably for the next 40 minutes if I needed to. But all right, so Jacques Derrida's piece did address the concept or idea of deconstructing meaning, correct? And what we've done today already is begin the start of deconstructing meaning, didn't we? Trump derangement syndrome, the image of Trump as Pope or as Jesus or whatever. We're already doing that. How does he define deconstruction?
There's no fixed meaning to a word or a phrase, and when you deconstruct it and look into it, you find multiple interpretations, contradictions, and such. Kind of like with Cradle Catholic, the meaning from one party might be to be like, oh, these Cradle Catholics.
Yes.
And the other party, as in the Cradle Catholics, might be like, we are Cradle Catholics, we've been Catholics longer than these converts.
We know better.
Yeah, and two groups see the same word or phrase and they get two very different interpretations of that.
Yes, and how the hell does that happen? So, let's talk about where deconstruction occurs. And we've already started talking, like I said, about deconstruction. You guys might not remember this, but do you remember I.A. Richards? The triangle, the semantic triangle of meaning that I put up for you? Did I? Yeah, I drew it on the board.
Yeah.
I know that. Okay, the semantic triangle of meaning that we talked about, where the miscommunication occurs not between your ideas and a word or an object and your thoughts about it, but between the word and the object. So in here we did a little exercise saying dog. Well, nope, that was social movements. Sorry, I'm back. Let's do a little exercise using the word dog. We did do that. Okay, good. Okay. And did I end up telling you guys that what I think of when I hear dog? No. When I hear dog, and I don't know why you guys don't, I think of a 72-pound Collie Dalmatian Labrador, or Collie Dalmatian Labrador, named Corky. But that's not who you think of, is it? I think of a dog with a Dalmatian body, so the high back, that has short, coarse lab hair, boxed lab ears, a long collie nose, the collie colors, really, of brownish red to black, with the white diamond on the back, and the white beard, and the white tip tail, and the bushy tail of a collie. And everywhere that he has white, he has brown Dalmatian spots. That's what I think of. But that's not what you think of. And somebody said to me, why don't you think of Percy? Because I don't think of Percy as a dog. I think of Percy as necessary. He's like a medical device. He's attached to... Are you feeling okay?
Yeah.
All right, you don't have low sugar or anything. Okay. Percy's being weird.
He's licking my lip.
I see that. Sorry about that. If you want him to stop, feel free to push him away and yell at him.
I think of Air Bud.
You think of Air Bud. Okay, that's fair. People were saying barking, furry, loud, mammal. Some people yelled out cat, the opposite of dog, right? Because we all have a different way of thinking about it. I.A. Richards started us down that path. Well, you guys looking at Derrida, the term deconstruction is, what are we deconstructing? We're deconstructing that meaning, that confusion that occurs between a word and the object. And the reason that the reason we're doing that is because at least your anxiety will be really, really low. Look at the bright side. The reason that we do that is because of a guy named De Saussure. Little d, little e, space, capital S, A-S-S-U-R-E. De Saussure, I'm sorry, is that monitor blocking you?
No,
Okay, good, because you can find another place to sit.
I like this spot.
I know.
My spot.
By the window, it is your spot. De Saussure came up with the definition of a sign. Now, depending on who you talk to, a sign and a symbol are the same thing, or they are completely different things. He's so needy.
Well, I was about to start typing my notes, and he kind of looked
Yeah,
at
like,
me
why
and
did you
was
start?
like,
That's okay. Yeah, if you give it a second, he'll relax. He'll figure it out. He'll figure it out. There you go. He figured it out. Okay, where a sign, I'm going to use the word sign, S-I-G-N, is a symbol. A symbol is a word. We could debate the difference another day. Today is not that day.
Okay.
There is a difference. It's subtle. Today is not that day. Yeah? Can we accept that? Okay, for the purposes of this discussion. Okay, a sign or a symbol equals, this is a mathematical equation more than it is a definition, equals the signifier over, or divided by, if you want, the signified. Signifier over signified. That's what a sign is. What do we mean by that? Well, when I say, let me try it this way. I'm going to draw something on the board. You guys tell me what it is. I don't think it's going to come onto the camera again. Can you all see where I'm drawing? Can you, Ben?
Yeah.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, what is this? It's a symbol. What is it? A symbol of?
The rear of an elephant.
It is the rear of an elephant. It is an elephant. It is a signifier of an elephant. Do I have an actual elephant in the room? Can you smell, taste, touch, anything at all? The elephant.
No.
In your imagination, maybe, but no, we cannot. Yeah, the smell of a circus animal is in my brain all the time because when I was a kid, circuses were a thing. Thank God they're not anymore. But a signifier, the word elephant, is what we're working with. But a sign or a symbol is the signifier over the signified. So what do we mean by the signifier? Now, oh, go ahead. You have a question.
Signified? What do we mean by the signified?
The signified would be an actual elephant, would be the elephant.
Could it also be like physically, or could it also be like the mental image that the signifier?
It's not the mental image,
Okay.
because I'm saying elephant so that you know that I mean the physical animal of an elephant, right?
Okay.
So it's a signifier of that.
Okay.
That drawing is a signifier of an elephant. So you don't ever need to be in the same room with an elephant. How many of you have been with an elephant? Seen an elephant? Like in person? Touched an elephant? Ridden one? Just me. Okay. Well, back in the day, this was all the rage. Tigers weren't the only thing that they were abusing in the circus industry, or camels, or ponies, or whatever. Elephants were part of that too. So, signifier over the signified. That's what De Saussure said defines a sign. What then is Derrida talking about? Derrida says that deconstruction begins right here, between the signifier and the signified. That's where things start to deconstruct. By the way, if you're bored and you want to get deep into deconstruction, I could give you a list of authors to go read where they start talking about how all words deconstruct themselves into literally no meaning. And you wonder why I wear black all the time. Go get your PhD, you'll wear black all the time too. Okay, deconstruction, deconstructing the signifier over the signified. By the way, if you do continue to deconstruct the signifiers, eventually you will get to a point where there is no meaning anymore, right? That's what Derrida was sort of saying. Derrida is one of the extreme postmodernists. Not the most extreme, believe it or not. There's things past Derrida. But he did believe in sort of this idea of being able to break down meaning constantly. He, however, believed that there was an end to it, where you could find the meaning.
So he believed in a universal meaning if you broke it down enough?
He believed in a shared meaning if you broke it down enough. So there might not be a universal meaning, but if you and I negotiate meaning long enough, we'll get there to where we agree.
Okay.
I think, rest in peace, sir, but I think that's what he would get at. Whereas others that came after him would argue, you could never get to meaning because there is none, shared or otherwise. The true extreme postmodernist would say there's never anything, there's no shared meaning ever. Which, if that's the case, how are you writing that there's no shared meaning? Obviously there's something there, right? Like if you take anything to its extreme, it gets absurd, right? So I hated it when people used to say, I hate postmodernism because it's ridiculous. Like, of course we have meaning. Of course you wrote something down and there's meaning. I was like, that's not the point. The point is for it to be informative, not for it to be, despite the word, completely deconstructing everything. a friend of mine that I debated against in college, so I probably haven't seen her in, God, 30 years. Thank God for Facebook. We're friends on Facebook. So she and I are both professors, right? And so she was talking about the problem with higher education. And she said it's not AI. It's not cheating. There's always been cheating, whether it was using AI or not. She's absolutely correct in all of this, by the way. And she made the comment, we're in a post-truth world. And I'm worried about, now that's not a new term, post-truth. That's not a new term. That's an old term, in my opinion. I know, everybody thinks they just discovered it, but it's been around for a long time. Kind of like Cradle Catholic. It's been around for a while. I said what I was seeing happening, not with you guys, not with my students. I was very clear. I said, not with my students are great. But what I see coming down the pike is not that we live in a post-truth world, but we live in a post-reality world. And what we mean by that is people have discovered that it does not matter what you think your experiences are telling you. What matters is what we're seeing, what we're telling you to see. So, The Wizard of Oz. Pay no attention behind the man, to the man behind the curtain. What you think you're seeing. You see that man behind the curtain? No, you don't. What's the line people keep quoting right now? And the last thing that was said was that there shall be no truth or something, and there wasn't. All right, I don't need truth, but I do need some acceptance of reality. That when a school gets bombed in Iran with 150 girls in it, that you don't get to tell me a school in Iran with 150 girls in it was not bombed. You don't get to tell me that. We can debate who's to blame, but you can't tell me that a building was not bombed with 150 schoolgirls in it, right? What does post-reality mean? Forget post-truth. What does post-reality mean? It means that somebody, number one, all of you probably have already forgotten that happened. If you even knew it happened in the first place. You didn't even know it happened.
No, I haven't forgotten.
Okay, good. Were you thinking about it?
Hmm.
Were you thinking
Not
about
actively.
it? Right, there you go. It wasn't in our minds, was it? Do you want to know why? Because we have been told to not pay attention to that. We are told not to pay attention to the number of human beings dying today. And I don't mean naturally. We've been told to not pay attention. And in fact, you may remember about 6 years ago, or no, maybe it was 2016. How old were you guys in 2015 and 2016? 12? You were 12.
2002.
2016.
2002 is when I was born, so.
Oh, so like 14, 13, 14.
I'm old.
How old were you? In what year were you born?
2003.
So you were 9. What year?
4.
So you were 8. Or I'm sorry, 2016?
What? Yeah.
That feels really young.
Why did I do
Well,
2012?
it's funny because like we did the math for him and it was like, oh, you were 14, and I'm like, I was born a year.
Yeah, so you were
after, and
13.
You're like, oh, you're 9. I'm like,
Are we talking about elections here?
And you were 12. Okay, no, we're not talking about elections.
Oh, sorry, 12 and 16. I'm like,
Yeah, no, well, that's in my head, because I think in 4-year terms. But no, in 2016, 15, 16, you guys might have been too young to really be paying attention. There was this guy named Steve Bannon. Have you heard of him?
hmm.
No?
Steve Bannon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who was doing the thing.
Yeah, he's doing the thing all right. He was the one that was sort of crafting Donald Trump's messaging for his campaign in 2016. His term was muzzle velocity. Do you know what muzzle velocity is? Okay, do you know what a muzzle is? What's a muzzle?
It's barrel of a gun.
It is the barrel of a gun. Nobody says the thing you put on a dog's face to keep them from biting. Yeah, that's where you went.
We live in America. You know.
Yeah, in America,
Eagle.
muzzle is the rifle, right? It's a rifle, or
It's more of a musket.
it's a musket. That's what I was thinking of. It was a musket.
Unrifled. So,
Yeah. So muzzle in a musket is where you pack what?
you pack the wadding, the powder, the bullet.
Exactly. It's where you put the stuff you want to shoot out. Okay. Now, imagine what we're talking about is not bullets or gunpowder. What we're talking about is messaging. Muzzle velocity. You put in as much as you can into that muzzle before you shoot it off so that everything goes out at exactly the same time and people don't know what to pay attention to. Muzzle velocity. And we started talking about it in our academic circles. What does that mean, muzzle velocity? How does that work? Not real hard to see how that works now, is it? You keep throwing out crazier and crazier stuff, people won't know what to pay attention to. And then you do whatever you want while they're paying attention to everything else.
Really smart.
Oh, it is smart. That doesn't make it ethical, but it makes it, yes, it is a good plan. I don't know how new of a plan it is, but putting it into terms like that can only occur in our current information age, because you wouldn't be able to do that with newspapers. Stuff goes out too slowly.
But if you have a big enough distraction, I mean, you can make the argument, you know.
No, there's distraction. That's not the same thing as muzzle velocity.
Muzzle velocity is amount all at the same
A
time.
quantity
Yeah, quantity.
of crazy,
Not a measure.
not a measure of crazy. The quality of crazy does not matter. I mean, think about it. People are dying because we're killing them. And we're all sitting around talking about an AI generated photo or image of the president, aren't we? How many of you have thought about how many people died in Iran today? Or in, how many Israelis, how many Iranians, how many Americans, how many Europeans have died today because of the war that we started? Oh, wait, did we start the war? Did we start the war? Oh, you're confused. You don't know if we started the war or not, do you?
I wouldn't be surprised.
We shot first. So did we start the war?
Well, who gave him the idea?
I don't care who gave them the idea, because the idea is not the war.
Is it even a war?
Definitionally,
Congress
no.
approved it.
Correct. They did not. And the thing is, you're allowed to go 90 days if you can prove that there is an imminent threat. Was Iran an imminent threat to us here in the United States of America? Were they even an imminent threat to the people in the Middle East? We ask ourselves this because last June or October, whichever one it was, we were told that their nuclear weapon capabilities were obliterated, which means eliminated, right? You didn't just eliminate them, you obliterated them. That's a pretty strong word. So what threat did they pose? We don't know, but we're coming up on that 90-day mark eventually. It'll be this summer. Congress has only been in session for 2 days. They were all on vacation. Did you know that? We started a war and Congress was on vacation.
No, they did that for a reason.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
how many people actually are paying attention to this? They are supposed to be in session. This is not vacation time. You come back after Easter. But they didn't until 2 days ago. So the point being, if I throw enough crap at you, by the way, this is the way some of my professors taught. They threw so much stuff at us and then they quizzed us or tested us on whatever they wanted to, and good luck figuring out what that was going to be. Do any of your professors do that to you now? Maybe. I don't know.
More like gen ed professors.
Gen ed professors do that. They just throw a bunch of stuff and then good luck figuring out what's on the exam, what's important. Yeah. So what do you think from today is important for you guys for the exam? If you were going to ask questions just from today, what would they be?
We talked a lot about deconstruction.
Okay.
Maybe the power discourse dynamic
Okay.
and how that works.
Okay.
That's what I got.
Something about discursive formation.
Thank you. That's the one I was waiting on too, because I was like, hopefully I highlighted.
Oh,
Critical theorists are interested in power, what a discursive formation is and how it's used to create or maintain power. Little o other, big O other, maybe? Maybe? Possibly.
okay.
Because big O other is represented in our language, isn't it? Did I tell you guys the story about my mom saying to me, like, my mom and I are not close. I'm lucky she loves me. I'm pretty sure she doesn't like me. I don't think she ever has. But we talk on the phone for a couple hours every few weeks because she's my mom and you do that. But some of you might be so close to your mom that you talk every day or you text all the time or something. Me and my dad were that way, but he died in 2005, so I didn't really get a lot of text time with him, you know, because back then it was a little different. But me and my dad were the closest. When I married my husband, who I have a long history with, that goes back to 1995, when I married him in 2014, my mother looked at me and said, I don't really think your dad would be very happy about this. What is she doing? She is appealing to my big O other, who she knows I question myself or measure myself against. She's not my big O other. She's a little O other right now. Probably always will be. She's a little O other. But she knows she can appeal to my love for my dad by saying he would be disappointed. Good news, I was able to break that down and turn to her and go, well, I knew dad better than you did then, because I promise you he would not be. Most people would spend about 10 years in their psychiatrist's office getting therapy for that kind of comment. Your dad would not like what you did here. Okay, that's a pretty big statement to someone who loves her parents, right? If you have a good relationship with your parents, you want them to be proud of you, right? Or maybe there's somebody else in your life that you want them to be proud of you. And if they die, they're still there. They're still checking the system. I promise you, you'll still go, oh, I wonder what dad would think about that. I wonder if dad would do that. I wonder what dad would tell me to do. Even 21 years later, I think that, right? That's how impactful a big O other is. So imagine what happens when your big O other includes God or a higher power entity that could give you eternal damnation if you buy that, right? Or the law. If you so much as violate any tiny bit of the law, that you're gonna be put in prison forever, right? That's the threat. Basically, what I'm saying is, we all live under the threat of disappointing someone else or something else, violating the symbolic order, and going into a guilt redemption cycle, which comes from who? The guilt redemption cycle? Anybody? Remember? Anybody? Nobody?
I don't remember who did it, but I remember it.
Who, you don't remember who did
I
it,
don't
but you remember
who
talking
died,
about
yes,
the
I
cycle. Well, that was probably
remember
more
the cycle.
important.
Yeah.
It's probably more important. That's Kenneth Burke, right? Do you see how all this links together in the end? Philosophy, man, it sucks. Because it's all right connected. I can't keep them apart sometimes. But for your purposes today, critical theorist, power, big O, little o, concepts or general ideas, discursive formations, how we define a sign, because that's where deconstruction occurs, right? Yeah? And what deconstruction might be. And who that came from. Yeah? So who does deconstruction come from?
No. Sorry.
Not De Saussure.
It was the guy yesterday, the last Monday.
No.
No?
It's the guy from today.
Today? I can't remember who was today even.
Who?
Derrida?
Derrida. Very good.
I'm floundering over
I'm
here.
floundering because I'm hungry.
Yeah.
My sugar's dropping and my dog's just laying there on his feet.
Chick-fil-A at the PSU.
Yeah. Okay, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, or threats at this time? Papers are still being worked on? I will say this, if you don't have your feedback by Friday, email me, because something's not right. You should have it by then. I should be done. All right? Okay. What?
Paper due date is end of April.
No, it's like May
So
2nd?
that's kind of like the final. Okay, that's kind of like the
May
final
2nd or
then.
3rd.
May 2nd or 3rd, I don't remember which one I say.
It's like the final then.
Yeah, it's like the last day of classes.
I keep wanting to say I have like multiple papers due like the 30th, and I keep wanting to say it's the 30th.
No, I'm giving you 4 extra days or 3
Thank
extra
you.
days.
It's huge.